Hello and welcome back to Whiskey Wars. My name is Sean and tonight we'll be doing our very first Whiskey War. We'll be blind tasting and comparing Jack Daniel's, Jim Beam, Evan Williams, and Very Old Barton 100 Proof. So we have reviewed all of the whiskeys we will be tasting tonight, but blind tastings can yield very different results when you're tasting whiskeys back to back. So we may have some surprising results tonight as to what the winner may be. So let's get these whiskeys in the glass and see how they fare. All right, we have our 4 whiskeys poured. They've all been opening up for about 10 minutes now. Let's go through the lineup. In glass A, we have Evan Williams, A for Amazing Value. And glass B, we have Very Old Barton, so B for Barton. And glass C, we have Jim Beam, and the C stands for Crap, I Have to Drink This Again. And in glass D, we have Jack Daniel's, and the D stands for Dirt, because that's what the finish tastes like. Yep. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'll end up loving one of the ones I just talked crap about. So now I'm going to close my eyes and mix these all around. Let's see if you guys can keep track at home. See if I can do this without spilling any whiskey. That'd be really good. This is kind of like the opposite of the shell game, since you guys know what's happening, but I don't. All right. I think we're sufficiently mixed up now. I have no idea which is which. So let's get into the nosing of each one of these glasses. Getting some wood funk, maybe some sour oak, maybe a little caramel, and hints of brown sugar and vanilla. All right, not a bad nose. All right, this is a more prominent nose, kind of like grape and cherry, brown sugar, very sweet smelling. Oh, very candy, like a candy, like a grape candy, or if there was a cherry grape candy, something like that. Very strong smelling. Now here I'm getting cherry, cinnamon, some sweetness, but not nearly as strong as number 2. Maybe hints of sour, but like a citrus sour more than like an oak sour. Now this one is kind of strange smelling. I don't really know how to pinpoint. I don't want to draw conclusions in my head already, but hand sanitizer. Kind of buried under that is some cinnamon, but there's just kind of a general funk to that. Not real pleasant. Of the 4, that's the worst nose for sure. All right, well, we've nosed our 4 glasses. Now let's get into the tasting. All right, you're getting the vanilla, the caramel, the brown sugar, the sour oak note, but not overwhelming. It's very nice. Very creamy feeling in the mouth. Just in general, a very nice sipping whiskey. Now let's taste the glass number 2. Some interesting things going on there. The nose is quite a bit different than the palate. You are getting a little bit of that grapiness, especially on the finish. You kind of get kind of a cheap grape soda that's always had a particular taste to me that I don't really care for. You kind of get that on the finish, and there's also kind of some funky, earthy tones that I don't care for. The palate was kind of flat. You get a little cherry and maybe a little brown sugar, but I didn't notice much of the grape on the palate. Although not too bad. It was okay. Let's cleanse the palate again and move on to glass number 3. All right, now glass number 3 was exactly the way the nose smelled. You're getting the cherry on the palate, almost kind of like a cough drop, like a cherry cough drop or a lozenge. You're getting the cinnamon. You're getting a little bit of brown sugar as well. And then on the finish, you're getting kind of the spice from the cinnamon and also kind of like a black pepper kind of spice as well. All in all, a pretty good sipping whiskey. All right, let's give glass number 4 a taste. Okay, so I can definitely say with certainty, whatever glass number 4 is, it was the least pleasant to drink. The palate was very flat. Almost no flavors other than alcohol burn. If you had put vodka in there and I had my eyes closed, I don't think I could tell the difference. There is a little bit of cinnamon, maybe some brown sugar, but you really have to search for it. There might be a little cherry, but I almost feel like the cherry might be lingering from glass number 3 because it's very, very faint, and you definitely have to look for it. But there's just not much going on in that glass, unfortunately. So now what we're going to do is let these glasses sit open for another 10 minutes or so, and then we'll come back and taste them in the opposite direction and see if that makes any difference. All right, and we're back. We've given our glasses another 10 minutes or so to open up. So now let's go the opposite direction and see if it makes any difference and helps out any of these glasses. Let's start with glass number 4 here. See if it's improved any. Still smells the same. I have to say it did open up a little more, but it's still not great. Cherry and cinnamon, a little bit again, but still getting this weird funkiness, especially on the finish, and really reminding me of cheap hand sanitizer. I hope that's not one that I've reviewed positively in the past, because that would be kind of embarrassing. But so far that seems to be in last place. All right, let's taste glass number 3. All right, so what's interesting is that glass number 3 and glass number 4 have similar flavors, but glass number 3 does every single thing better. The cherry is better, the cinnamon is better, the overall profile on the palate is better. You're just getting a lot more depth of flavors. You don't get that weird funk on the finish. You get kind of a similar, just like on the palate, you're getting the similar flavors on the finish. So you're getting the cherry and the cinnamon on the finish, kind of a spicy cherry, which doesn't really sound that great, but it works really well in this whiskey. All right, let's give glass number 2 a taste. Now, unfortunately for glass number 2, time has not helped it. Yeah, I believe it was better the first time around, it really seems like. Now it's more of like an astringent, weird, cheap grape soda kind of flavor which I kind of tasted the first time around, but now it's much stronger and much kind of dirtier, grassy, earthy tasting on the finish. So I have an idea what that is, just based on my previous tastings of this whiskey, but we'll see here shortly. But not my favorite. Better than 4, but not great. All right, let's give glass number 1 a taste. Yeah, glass number 1 is the best put together whiskey on the table, at least to me. You're getting that sour oak, but it really works well in this glass. You're getting the caramel, you're getting the brown sugar, you're getting kind of like a vanilla or a whipped cream. Very creamy. It's not thin like these others, especially 4 and 2 have the mouthfeel of like vodka. 3 is a little better, but this is much more thicker tasting. And I have a pretty good idea what that is, because I'm pretty sure it's usually my daily. We have, I believe, Evan Williams. I believe this is Jack Daniels. I'm fairly certain this is Barton, and I believe this is Jim Beam. It is something like $21 for a 1.75. And then Evan Williams and Jim Beam are both around 23 to 25, depending on the store you go to, for a 1.75. So Jack is nearly double the price of some of these. And if this is Jack, it's not going to fare real well. So now I'm going to rank them. This was my favorite. This was my second favorite. This was my third, and this was last. So now let's see what they are now that we have them in order. So we have A, which just as I expected, that was Evan Williams. I probably drink this too much for anyone to fool me. Yeah, it just stood out as being superior to these. Now all these are budget bourbons, so don't take it like this is the greatest whiskey ever. It's not. But as far as what's on the table, it is the best. So now let's reveal glass number 2. And glass number 2 is in fact B for Barton. Now, completely different experience than Evan Williams, but these two were fairly close together as far as a nice sipping whiskey, a good experience. So if you like a more cherry cinnamon flavor profile in your whiskey, then you might prefer Barton. I prefer more caramel, brown sugar, vanilla. But this was an excellent second choice. And now let's get on to what I believe is Jack Daniels. Let's see. Yep, that's a D for dirt. Just as I kind of predicted in the start, it didn't let me down. The finish was exactly how I always remember Jack Daniels. I don't want the taste of a garden in my whiskey. I can't imagine anybody that would. And I can't imagine anyone that would like the kind of astringent, weird, cheap grape flavor. But you know, hey, if you're a huge Jack Daniels fan, and I'm talking about neat, I don't mean if you're mixing it with Coke, because then you can't taste the whiskey. So don't blaze me in the comments because you drink Jack and Coke all the time. That's not drinking whiskey, just so we're clear. But if you like the taste of this on its own, then tell me why, because I don't get it. I cannot believe this is twice the price of this. And I would have this every day of the week over this. And now that means that this is Jim Beam. And it's just as disappointing as the first review that you saw of it. There is so little going on in this glass that I have a hard time calling it bourbon. I mean, when you compare it to these other three, and I'm still not a big fan of Jack, but I would take Jack over Jim Beam any day. If those were the only two choices in whiskey, then Jack wins every single time. I don't know how you can age any mash bill of whiskey and get this little flavor. Jim Beam, if you're watching this, let me know what you're doing with your whiskey. I don't even know if that's aged in a barrel. I couldn't tell. As far as I know, this is colored vodka. Could have fooled me. If you took colored vodka and just flavored it with a light dusting of cinnamon, you'd have Jim Beam. And you could make that a lot cheaper, I'm sure, than this, because vodka's dirt cheap, usually. So all you Jim Beam fans out there, maybe just switch to cinnamon flavored vodka. I bet you could not tell the difference. Seriously. Again, I cannot understand how this is happening. How are these two whiskeys, this is the best-selling whiskey in America, and this is the best-selling bourbon in the world. Why? Somebody explain it to me. I don't get it. And these two are not like top shelf amazing bourbons that I'm putting them against. And they're destroying these. It's not even close. I mean, I knew almost immediately that these two were the winners, the first go around. In the second tasting, it was very, very clear that these two were the best. I don't know how something that's twice the price of almost anything on the table could be in third place. But it is. So maybe, do your own at home. Set up these 4 whiskeys at home, which you could probably do. I mean, if you got the small ones, you could probably do for like $5. And pour them in a glass and give them a taste. Have your wife or friend or roommate, whoever, mix them up for you and see what comes out on top. I guarantee you it won't be Jim Beam and Jack Daniels. If they win, let me know. I'd love to hear that. I'd love to hear what you're getting that I'm not getting that makes you think these two are better. But I do know that these two could be a daily drinker any day of the week. And so because of that, I will push these two aside and say, with these two, just remember folks, you can never have too much good whiskey.